All right, so it's 5:02. In the interest of time, I'll also get started. To folks who have just joined us, a very warm welcome to today's session. Thank you for taking time out on a Friday evening to join us. I'm just going to do a quick introduction on Wisdom Circle. So, Wisdom Circle was founded in 2022, and we are a platform that's dedicated to uniting seasoned professionals with meaningful opportunities to work, network, and keep growing, thereby providing purpose and fulfillment. If you haven't already, you can log in at app.wisdomcircle.com to check out the various opportunities that are available exclusively for professionals over the age of 50. In addition to us being a jobs platform, we also host events such as today's, and we have our very own community. Once again, a space that is dedicated to professionals over the age of 50 to connect, network, share, and learn with each other. So that's just about Wisdom Circle. I'm going to run over a few ground rules for today's session. The first one being, please try to keep yourselves on mute since this is an online session, especially during our speaker's presentation. We don't want any accidental interruptions or anybody talking over each other. So please do try to keep yourselves on mute. If you have a question, you can drop them in the chat. We'll be taking the questions towards the end of the session. We have a dedicated Q&A portion, so we'll try to address as many questions as possible. During the Q&A portion, if you want to, you can also use the raise hands feature on Zoom to raise your hand, and that way we can also take questions one by one. Great. So with all of that covered, I'm very excited to welcome Mr. Rajiv. Rajiv brings over 36 years of experience in the Indian IT industry and currently works with the research division at Tata Consultancy Services. Alongside his professional career, he has been deeply involved in the practice and teaching of nonviolent communication. A registered certification candidate with the Center for Nonviolent Communication USA, Rajiv has introduced NVC to more than 400 individuals, including within TCS, and co-leads a course called Reimagining Family with participants from India, Europe, and the USA. His research interests focus on measuring the impact of NVC on family dynamics and the development of empathy and self-compassion. Outside of work, Rajiv is a keen wildlife photographer and a lover of poetry. Please join me in welcoming Rajiv for today's session. So over to you, Rajiv. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Vaibhavi, for that very heartening introduction. I welcome you all participants, very familiar faces from the time I was in college, my roommate Tankut, to all the way my colleagues at workplaces over the years, and my relatives and cousins. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining. Really looking forward to offering this overview session called Nonviolent Communications. Let me just get started directly. Okay, so I'll share my screen now. Oh, someone else is sharing the screen.
Yeah, I think that was accident. You should be able to share your screen now, Rajiv.
Okay, all right. All right, hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
All right, okay. So the title I have given is From Conflicts to Connections, an introduction to nonviolent communication. So what I'm going to cover is a brief introduction to this concept called nonviolent communication. And then I'll cover how we have tried to apply nonviolent communication in the family spaces using a program that we offer called Reimagining Family. And I also run programs at workplaces called Conflict to Connection. So a very brief overview of both this program near the end is what I will cover. Most of the program, of course, will be focused on giving you a good introduction of what nonviolent communication is all about. And as Vaibhavi mentioned, we'll keep questions near the end, mainly because nonviolent communication is a concept where at the start, when I'm covering the introduction, you are very likely to have a lot of questions that will get answered as I go through the rest of my presentation. So that is why I invite you to kind of hold off to your questions. And near the end, we'll definitely have enough time, at least about 10 to 12 minutes to answer your questions. So with that, I start my introduction to nonviolent communication. It is a language and a technique to improve understanding between people and to improve the way you can interact with other people with empathy, a natural way to increase empathic listening to people. At a very broad level, this is what NVC is all about. We will be using the term NVC as a short form to indicate nonviolent communication. This is an initiative that was started by this wonderful gentleman called Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. He was a PhD in psychology, an American scholar who passed away in 2015. He took about 40 years to come up with this initiative and this new framework called nonviolent communication. And after he created that, he started a Center for Nonviolent Communication. It is a nonprofit organization in the US, which promotes growth of nonviolent communication in 65 plus countries around the world. I have certified myself with the Center for Nonviolent Communication as a certification candidate. My senior colleague, Juliana, who's here on the call as well, she's NVC certified trainer from the same institute. So where all is nonviolent communication applied? I mean, what is the scope? Scope is pretty wide, as you can see from the list here. It is applied for conflict transformation, for counseling. It is applied at government and governance levels, in education, in schools, family, leadership, peace and civil discourses, restorative justice. Wide variety of areas is where NVC is applied. And because it is so wide, it is interesting to know how simple and basic the fundamentals are, because of which it can be applied in so many different spaces. And so I will cover those basics now. So nonviolent communication, basic principles. Okay, to the very core of the concept of nonviolent communication is this universal human needs. What you see is a list of needs that all humans have. And needs are not just air, water, food, shelter, the basic human needs. They are just basic survival needs. But beyond that, anything from all the way from left that you see under connection, which is intimacy, harmony, support, to all the way to the right under transcendence, where you see communion, faith, peace, and everything in between are human needs. We experience these needs at different times of our life. Many times, many needs play at one time as well. But interesting thing is that all of us share the same set of universal human needs, right? Whether a human is from New York or Nagpur or Norway or New Zealand, anywhere, all humans are going to experience the same set of needs in their lifetime. And another interesting fact is that whatever we say or do, any action we take, we do to meet one or more of these needs. That's a very important point to remember. Any action that I do is to meet a certain need. And let me explain that by taking examples. So whatever we say or do, we do to meet our needs. For example, if I'm dancing, my need is for joy or celebration. Or if I'm calling a friend, my need is connection. If I'm learning a new skill, my need is growth. If I'm just walking in a garden, my need is peace of mind, maybe. If I'm getting up late on a Sunday morning, well, my need is ease and choice. It's my choice. I want to get up at 10 in the morning. My choice, right? And I want ease. So as you can see, for any action that we ever do in our life, we do that to meet certain needs. It is that fundamental, a tenet in nonviolent communication. Moving on to the next concept is the concept of feelings. Just the way we have a lot of needs, we have a lot of feelings. And again, the list of feelings is vast, from compassionate on the left side to warm, friendly, all the way to the right, exhausted, hurt, lonely, helpless. All of these are feelings that we experience at some or the other point in time in our lives. Again, feelings are also universal. All humans will have the same feelings, right? Whether the I mean, humans are in one country or the other country, from any economic strata, all humans are going to have the same set of feelings. We all experience different feelings at different points of time in a day, different points of time in life. But interestingly, there are two groups of feelings. One set of feelings on the left side are feelings when needs are met, and another set of feelings on the right, when the feelings when needs are not met. So the feelings that you see on the left side, which is affectionate, engaged, excited, joyful, refreshed, these are kind of positive feelings, so to say, and the ones on the right side are kind of negative emotions, negative feelings. But more than positive and negative, what is important to notice is that all the feelings on left are feelings when needs are met. When my needs are met, I have feelings of joy, excitement, ecstatic, grateful, etc. That's on the left side. But when my needs are not met, I have feelings which are on the right side, being afraid, annoyed, angry, sad, etc. Right? So feelings act as signals of whether my needs are met or not met. Let me elaborate on this last point by examples. So when we say feelings are signals to met or unmet needs, what does it mean? For example, I feel joyful because my need for fun is met. That's how they are connected, feelings and needs. I feel frustrated because my need for progress in studies is not met, right? So frustration is because of a need not met called progress. I feel peaceful because my need for rest is met. So I feel peaceful. Lastly, I feel anxious because my need for clarity about future is not met. As you can see, I have one set of feelings when needs are met, or another set of feelings when needs are not met. So remember this connection between feelings and needs. They are all connected. With these two principles of feelings and needs, we'll move on. So why are we even talking about feelings and needs? We are doing this to make connections with people, to understand how we can make better connections with people. And nonviolent communication tells us that if you can focus on feelings and needs of the other person, as well as feelings and needs of myself, that becomes a basis for connecting with people better. What it means is that as human beings, we are actually hardwired for connections. We are social animals, right? We like to be connected. We're hardwired. Our psyche is hardwired for making connections. So when we connect to feelings and needs of another human being, we touch into our common and shared humanity. And when we are able to share or connect with the shared humanity, that becomes a source of compassion with people. So NVC invites us to tap into our natural source of compassion, which arises if we can tune into feelings and needs of people. That's why we are talking about feelings and needs. So with all of this, let's have a fresh look at conflicts. A very beautiful statement I'd like to start with that is presented by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg himself, who says that every criticism, judgment, and expression of anger is a tragic expression of an unmet need. What it means is that if a person has a need that is not met, the reaction to that need not met can be a tragic expression in the form of criticism, anger, judgment, etc. In other words, if someone is saying something which is anger based or which lands as judgment on you, you may not like it, but in reality, that person is just trying to meet some of his or her needs. It's unfortunate that it's a tragic expression of the need that was not met for him. Let's understand this better. Remember, we said that whatever we say or do, we do to meet our needs. That means any action we do is to meet a need. So what happens is when people are in conflict, they cannot see each other's true feelings and needs. It's only when I can't see someone's real need behind the action that the person has taken, I have a higher chance of having a misunderstanding, having conflict, etc. This core principle is worth deep diving on, and we'll do exactly that in the next slide. So what I'm inviting you to think is that conflicts occur because our minds are conditioned to think in a certain way. What is that certain way? We are conditioned to say things like, what's wrong with someone for behaving in a certain way? If someone behaves in a certain way, we say, oh, something must be wrong with him. Something, maybe he had a fight with his wife. Something like that we say, right? Something wrong with him. That wrong word comes in our head. So what's wrong with others for behaving in a certain way? And when that thought comes to us, we end up making some kind of a conclusion of this type. Oh, you are mean. He's lazy. Or she is selfish. This kind of a wrongness thinking leads us to this kind of judgment. At times, unfortunately, this thinking is also pointed inwards to ourselves. What's wrong with me? Why couldn't I perform better? And we have a judgment saying, I am no good. I'm no good. So our conditioning to view wrongness in people's behavior leads to judgment, leads to judging people. And what happens when we judge people? We end up having expressions which land on other people as putting them down, or blaming them, or insulting them, comparison coming up, or criticism, labeling a person. That's what happens when we end up judging people based on thinking of wrongness. Nonviolent communication invites us to see all these as different forms of violence. This is the violence that NVC invites us to look at. Not just physical abuse, physical violence, but these are all also different forms of violence. And because of this different forms of violence, we have a lot of conflicts, lot of skirmishes amongst us, between people. So what should we do? Instead of doing this, what is the invitation from NVC? Well, nonviolent communication says that instead of judging people, can we think which of their needs were not met? Can we just invite us to just focus on needs of people which they were trying to meet and they were not met, which is why the person is behaving in a certain way that seems to me as wrong. That's a very important and a very significant different way of thinking and looking that NVC invites us to do. And so when we say we should not do judgment of people, what should we do? And this is where I invite you to look at this very interesting distinction between observation and judgment. If we are judging, then we have a different outcome, but we are just observing, there is a different outcome. And let me take examples to explain the distinction. One statement I might say as, she never does what I say. That's one way of saying things. Other ways, the last 3 times I asked her to do something, she said she did not want to do it. Now, there are these 2 different statements. Can someone unmute and tell me which of these is observation and which one is judgment? Anyone? Just one person?
First one is a judgment, sir.
Yeah. First one is judgment and second one is observation. Right. Thank you. Next one. These 2 statements. My son only studies for exams the night before. The second one is, my son is lazy in his studies. Which one is observation and which one is judgment?
First
First
one
one is
is
observation, second
judgment.
one is judgment.
First one is observation and second one is judgment. Right. Right. What I'm inviting us to think is that it's not too difficult to think of what an observation statement can be instead of a judgment-driven statement. If we can practice, we can really come down to observation. Another one and last one. My neighbor is always complaining. Versus, last few times I spoke to my neighbor, she gave her views about other neighbors.
First one is
Second
judgment.
one is observation. First is judgment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And so this is a demonstration to indicate that it's very, very simple for us to think of observation and judgments. If we can ask ourselves before what I'm going to say, whether my statement is going to land as a judgment to the other person, can I transfer that or translate that into an observation and then say that, it is very likely to not land as a judgment. It will not land as wrongness on the other person. And as a result, we can avoid skirmishes. And a conversation of connection is possible if we do that, right? So I just invite you to sit with that thought as we move along. So why at all are we focusing on observation? Is because when we combine an observation with judgment, people are going to hear criticism. People will hear that I'm being put down, I'm being blamed, I'm being insulted, so on and so forth. So criticism, as I said earlier, is a form of violence, and it will lead to conflicts with people. Even if your intention is not to get into conflicts, because what goes out of our mouth is landing as judgment, the other person is likely to react and get into a conflict. Okay. But instead, if you focus on observation, the statements that we used earlier in the earlier slide, they are likely to lead to connection with people and not conflict with people. I invite you to sit with that thought. So far, I have summarized that it will help to separate observation from judgments. That's one thing we have summarized or seen. And the other is all humans have the same set of feelings and needs, which implies that I, as a human, have the ability to sense maybe what is a feeling or a need that the other person is actually sitting with, which may be the reason of that person to say or do something that may not be sitting right with me. Can I tune myself to trying to understand what the feeling or need the person might be sitting with? These two things, and how do we combine all of this? Understand that people in conflict say many things about each other based on judgment. When people are in conflict, what they say usually is judgments. Instead, it will help if people can say what they observed others do or say, and what feelings came up in them on observing. When I see you do XYZ, I feel sad, I feel hurt. Can we say that? And then talk about needs, the last bullet point as it says. Which of their needs were not met? Or when I see you do this, or when I hear you do this, say this, I'm feeling hurt because my need to be understood was not met. This is the kind of a language that NVC is inviting us to start practicing with. So that brings us to this language of nonviolent communication called OFNR. It's a short form for observation, feeling, need, and request. So observation is something like when I see or hear you doing this, saying this, it's an observation without judgment. Then you say, I feel XYZ. You express your feelings very clearly. Then you say, which of my needs were not met, because of which I have this feeling when I observe you doing this. So first say observation, then you say feeling, then you say needs, and then the most important aspect is making a request. Would you be willing to tell me why you said this? Or would you be willing to tell me why you behaved in a certain way, right? So make clear, specific requests. around the feelings and needs that are occurring in you in response to an observation that you have seen. This is the kind of a new language that NVC is inviting us to speak. It's a new way of speaking. It's not natural for us to speak in this way, yes, but I invite you to just stay put for a while and see when I take examples of how it can be practiced in real life. It's not so difficult, actually. So take, for example, one where a parent is speaking to a teenage child who's constantly on mobile phone during the day. Okay, very common for us to see a teenage child constantly being on mobile phone throughout the day. And a parent is speaking to the child, but the parent is just saying, the child is just saying, yes, 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 okay, okay, but not looking at the parent. In such a scenario, the parent is likely to get annoyed. So what is a typical non-NVC kind of a statement that the parent will say to the child? And we all know how that is likely to be. A communication that can lead to conflict that a parent will say to the child is something like this. You are always staring at your phone when I'm talking to you. You are making me angry because you are not taking time for me. Stop staring at your phone and give me attention. Very common for us to hear all of this, right? See, there is criticism in this for the teenage child. There is putting down, there is blame, there is demand. Stop staring at your phone and look at me. That's a demand. Now, when all of this comes in front of the child is going to whine in his heart or in her heart. Out of compulsion, the child might look at you. Yes, mama, tell me, what are you saying? Okay. But in his or her heart, they will feel heartbroken because there is a sense of blame and judgment coming up. Yeah, your frustration has to be addressed of the child not looking at you. NVC invites us to say it in a different way. OFNR. Instead of this non-NVC response, say this response, a communication that leads to connection. You can say, when you look at your phone while talking to me, that's just observation, right? I feel irritated. That's feeling. Because I don't feel heard by you. That is, my need to be heard is not met. Would you be willing to look at me when I talk to you? That's a request. See, OFNR. I've said it in a very simple way without naming observation, feeling, need, request. I'm not teaching NVC to the child. I'm just being conscious about ensuring that I don't say a judgmental statement. I say an observation coupled with stating my feeling and what need is not met, and then making a request and not a demand. Okay. Now, because my child is also a human, the child understands what it means to be irritated. The child understands what is the meaning of the need to be heard. And that is the way to connect with the humanity of the other person. That's the beauty of NVC's way of communication that we are invited to practice. Okay. So this is an NVC response. This is one example. We'll take another example. That was in family. Let's look at workplace. Okay. In some workplace where maybe there is a project team working on something and there is a project lead saying something to a team member because they have collectively missed a deadline and all the blame comes to one member because of that member's tasks not completed on time, entire project's deliverable was delayed. In that situation, what will be a non-NVC statements going from the lead to a team member usually? A communication that will lead to conflict is, you are so careless with deadlines. This is so unprofessional. You really don't care about the team's goals. And now we are all behind because of you. Very common that we have all experienced in our work life, right? In different forms, we have experienced all this, either to us or to others around us. NVC invites us to say this differently using OFNR. So a communication leading to connection can be of this form. I noticed the two important pieces were not delivered by the deadline we had agreed on. That's observation. No blame there, just a pure observation of what happened. Then I'm feeling stressed and concerned. I'm not hiding my feelings. I'm saying very, very clearly what my feelings are. I'm feeling stressed and concerned because I really need reliability in our timeline to keep the project on track. That's my need, simple need. Would you be willing to share what happened and how we can plan together to avoid this in future? That's a request, right? So I'm avoiding conflict. I'm making a connection with the other person to understand what was going on with this person. And can I help that person to work together so that we don't miss the next deadline? That's a simple way to present OFNR. And that's what we are invited to think of. The left side of communication, which leads to conflict in NVC parlance, is called the jackal language. And the right side of the example, which leads to connection with people, is called giraffe language. Why jackal? Why giraffe? Here is the reason. Dr. Marshall Rosenberg came up with these beautiful symbols, one symbol of a jackal and one symbol of a giraffe. Jackal is a symbol of judgment, criticism, aggression, right? That represents the ordinary violence that often occurs in communication with people. And we've experienced the jackal in us showing up all the time, many times. On the other hand, giraffe is a symbol of benevolence, symbol of heart, compassion. It represents the person who has mastered the art of nonviolent communication. The invitation to us here is to move from jackal communication to giraffe communication. Can we start slowly, steadily, observe our jackal expressions and move to giraffe expressions, the OFNR expressions, so that we have a much better harmony amongst us? In other words, can we move from conflicts to connections using the nonviolent communication principles like OFNR? So that's my brief introduction to nonviolent communication. So this will lead to questions for you, right? And the questions are going to be like this. So is this all about being nice or polite to people? You know, just be politely, sweetie, sweetie to people. Is that what we are talking about? The other question is this a way to manipulate people in doing what you want? You know, just manipulate people and get your way done. Is this what it is all about? Another question I get is, should we just be nice even if the other person responds aggressively to my polite ways? Should we just be, you know, just nice all the time? I mean, give another cheek if someone slaps you here. Is that what we should be doing? Does this mean I can't express anger or strong emotions at all? No, I'm a human. I might have strong expressions, strong emotions. Should I not express them at all? Well, no, we are not saying any of this. Nonviolent communication doesn't say any of this. All it says is try and hold your truth. That is, respect your truth and your feelings while also holding care for other person's needs and feelings as well. The invitation is to see how we can combine our feelings needs with the other person's feelings and needs. Can we think of strategies by which we can meet both sides' feelings and needs? That requires time, a different way to align our thoughts to see how both sides of needs can be met. That's a different way of addressing that NVC is inviting us. On the way, we might be angry, that's fine. We can be kind to the anger that comes up from us because that's how we have lived. So we can be kind to ourselves that once in a while I might be angry. That's okay. Doesn't matter. But how do you do this? And why should I even do this? I mean, do I really want to do this? I don't know. Well, I invite all of you to consider to come and attend our once a week, 12-week course called Reimagining Family, where we are focusing on applying all of these concepts, nonviolent communication concepts, specifically for your families. So this program called Reimagining Family, what is it all about? So conflicts in family are very common. All of us have experienced conflicts in our family very often. Skirmishes that leave us hurt, angry, and most of the times helpless. There are honest communication with our loved ones, which becomes a struggle. The simple, honest communication at times, we find it very difficult to have with our loved ones. And so we end up longing for wanting to be truly heard. And this situation is profound in family relationships, that everyone is kind of longing to be truly heard. They don't get really heard very well and deeply. So how do we overcome these? And how do we experience more joy, harmony, and satisfaction in our family lives? Which is why we redesign, we gave a program, we are offering a program called Reimagining Family. It is for transforming relations with nonviolent communication. It's about nonviolent communication taught with a focus on family space. You can apply the learning on 1 or 2 specific relationships while you're working with us in the program. It's a program of 3 months with a small cohort of 20, 30 people. It is offered as a 2.5-hour program as online on Zoom sessions once a week. And we also have monthly one-on-one with individuals outside of the once a week sessions. And we offer people to learn how to converse even under difficult circumstances, while caring for your own emotional well-being. Remember, nonviolent communication ensures that your emotional well-being, your feelings and needs are addressed. At the same time, in difficult conversations, how can you hold your emotions, your feelings, needs, while also caring for others' feelings and needs? And will help you reach that stage through this 3-month course. We have already completed 3 batches so far. About 50, 60 families have experienced positive outcome after attending our courses. Our next batch is beginning next Sunday on 14th September. It's a Sunday batch, afternoon 3 o'clock. At the end of this program, Vaibhavi is going to share details of this. I invite you to take a look at that and feel free to register if your heart invites you to consider that, or reach out to me for questions. Vaibhavi will also share my contact details if you have questions about this. So I invite you to consider seeing your situations in families where you would like to have better harmony, better love, affection, and consider joining this program. I want to just share what participants have said after attending our program. And this is a summary of the survey results that we had run. 100% of participants say that these learnings will help improve their family relationships. 100%, right? Every person, all 60, 70 family members who have joined have said this. 100% have rated the course as excellent or very good. And I'm not trying to boast myself here. I'm honestly sharing what the factual results are. And 91% of the participants say that I'm motivated after attending this Reimagining Family program to bring positive change in my family relationship. 100% say that they are likely or very likely to recommend our program to others. And lastly, where all participants try to apply the learnings, you see, they end up naturally wanting to apply to all relationships, to spouses, to parents, to siblings, to children, to grandparents. They have applied to all kinds of relationships and found shifts. So what is the change, specific change that participants have noticed in themselves while practicing this? Remember, the change starts with us before we expect a better way that others in my family will communicate, right? The change is always to experience from us first. So what change people experience? Improved pause and response. I'm sure all of you have understood and known about this need to pause in moments. can we really pause before we respond? So participants have experienced an improved way of pausing and responding. Next, a greater awareness of my needs. We are usually not very focused and aware of our needs in real life. This program helped people become more and more aware of their actual needs and identify what needs they are sitting with in a particular situation. Next, empathic listening and compassion for others. So, can I tune into the other family members' needs and feelings? That the other area that participants experience the change in themselves. Next, using NVC vocabulary, which is an enhanced communication skills. People have said that they have experienced this change. Lastly, they've experienced growth through self-reflection practices, through journaling and introspection session that we have had, and all of this have benefited them. I'll just leave this testimonials here for a few seconds for you to read through. Again, ladies and gentlemen, my intent here is not to boast myself about whatever we are offering. These are factual statements that people have said, and I have not minced words. These are actual statements verbatim that we received in the feedback surveys that I'm projecting here. So I'll just keep here for another 5 seconds and then move on for the last 2 slides that I have. Okay, I'll move on to the last 2 slides. So what I've said earlier is about applying NVC in families. I've also been applying NVC at workplace. And as Vaibhavi mentioned at the start, I've applied it at my workplace in Tata Consultancy Services. So because inter and intra-team skirmishes are very common, or senior-junior conflicts are very common at workplaces, I felt it's the right area for us to apply NVC as well. So I run a program called Conflict to Connection at workplaces, a specifically designed NVC consciousness for workplaces. 150 employees at my workplace have attended this program by now. Okay, 150. And again, I'll just leave you guys with this last statement, last set of testimonials that I received from my employees, my team, my fellow employees at Tata Consultancy Services, of what they felt after attending this program. Again, I'll just take 10 seconds for you to read through this, and then I'll make a closing statement. Okay, so thank you for listening to me. And I want to close by this one share or one part of a poem, as it is said, and because I have interest in poetry. A beautiful 2 lines, a share as it is called in Hindi, are given on the left side, which says, "7 संदूकों में भरकर दफन कर दो नफरतें, 7 संदूकों में भरकर दफन कर दो नफरतें, आज इंसान को मोहब्बत की जरूरत है बहुत." Beautiful share by Bashir Badr, one of our very prominent Hindi shair. And for my friend Tankut, who is not Indian, doesn't understand Hindi, and anyone else on the audience who don't understand Hindi, there is a translation on the right side which says, "Seal away hatred deep in boxes," that is chests, "and bury them deep. Today, humanity is in deep need of love." I invite you guys to think about ways to offer love in the way that NVC invites us to kind of spread around us. And with that, I close my offerings. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I open up for questions. I hope I'm in time. Yes, we have time for 14 minutes to answer any questions. Feel free to note down my cell number and email ID to reach out to me, and we will also share those details with you. I am stopping my screen share. And very much looking to hear questions. Thank you for those who have clapped. Appreciate that. So, yes, I'm open for hearing questions. Any suggestions, any thoughts? Yes, Vaibhavi.
No, I was just thanking you. It was truly an interesting session. I myself am not very familiar with this concept, but it was just really nice thinking about the way I can reframe the way I interact with people in everyday life. So I'm just trying to find questions in the chat. I'm not able to see if there's any previously that we have not yet answered.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yes, Tankut, go ahead.
Hi, I'm walking. Sorry, I turned on my video, but the background is changing probably. Rajiv, thank you for sharing this. It's very intuitive. Certainly, it's very useful. Right? So, and there's nothing that you know, based on what you said, I thought, you know, this doesn't make sense. It all makes sense. In your experience, what are some of the things that keep people from practicing this, like putting this into practice? All the things, the concepts that you share.
Yeah. Thanks, Tankut, for asking that question. The answer is our conditioning. All of us here have at least about 40 years of life, I guess. We are conditioned to behave in a certain way, behave in a reactive manner. And what stops us from not practicing is the fact that we have not unlearned this new way of saying and interacting with people. We need to unlearn our way of interacting and learn this new way. And it only will come by practice and practice and practice. A lot of practice will be needed for that. Believe me, it's possible. I want to give an example that I keep giving to a lot of people, how practice helps. 3 years ago, the situation in my life with my wife was such that, as it happens very commonly with a lot of married people, is that on some situation, if we have a disagreement, a strong disagreement, she and I will not speak for 3 days, 4 days, 7 days. Okay. And after about 5 days, 7 days, we'll be back to normal. Right. But that experience of not having spoken because of a skirmish, that will be all put under the carpet. The dirt gone under the carpet. Okay. And then the dirt kept accumulating. And this would happen once in every 2 months at least, if not once every month. Okay, so once every month for 3 days, not talking to each other. This was the situation 3 years ago. Today, that frequency has come down to 0. 0. There isn't any moment when I am feeling that I don't want to talk to my wife. So, Pankaj, what I'm trying to say here to your question is that with practice, it is possible to reach this stage that, you know, you can really have harmony in your family and your workplaces. Yes, Rakshesh.
Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, Rajiv, this was a very nice concept, as I understood that it is more of evolving self rather than changing others. That is what I can understand from this. My specific question to applying NVC in factories, because I'm almost all my careers, I have been in operations for almost 35 years, working with semi-skilled, unskilled, or even helpful kind of people. So they're changing your language from non-NVC to NVC kind of things, talking to people of that level or that stature, explaining them something of that आपने ये ठीक से नहीं किया है, उसकी वजह से कंपनी को नुकसान हो गया and all that, and making them understand कि ये किस तरह से अगर करोगे तो ये चीज अच्छी होगी. ये थोड़ा सा मेरे को ट्रिकी लग रहा है because their level of understanding of my changing behavior with them is often sometimes questionable.
Right.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, yeah, good question, Rakshesh. And I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I invite you to remember that this is all about human feelings and needs. Human feelings and needs do not necessarily require language or high level of education. Even a laborer understands that he has feelings. And whether he's conscious about it or not, he understands that there are needs that he is trying to meet unconsciously. So what we need to do is form a kind of a language with the laborers where you are trying to pose your situation in a manner that you can relate to their feelings and needs as well. Now, you don't have to be non-strict with them. I can imagine the need to be strict when it comes to labor force. So we are not saying that you have to be nice and say that, oh, no, you don't want to come at 9 o'clock, come at 10 o'clock, that's fine. I understand your need to be with family. I'm not saying we do that, right? Organization, factories have certain norms, and those are imperatives that we have to work within. And so if people are not aligning with those requirements, we have to have a conversation with them. But the invitation is to see if we can avoid judgment landing with them. If we can have a better way of connecting them with the needs that you are sitting with. See, they will hear you as a human because they understand feelings and needs. If you can speak about feelings and needs in a manner that, is common language, they will understand better. People only want to be heard. If you can help them see that they are heard, then they will hear you better. Most of the times in the factories, what happens is that they are told that they are just supposed to be doing what they are told. They never get an experience of being heard. That's where the shift is likely to be required. And I can talk to you offline. Rakshay is happy to take this forward, but hope you get a glimpse of what I'm suggesting.
I'll also love to talk to you, Rajiv, on this because this is quite a distinct topic for me because I've been all doing this. क्योंकि उनका sir, just posing one for कि उनका ये सब if I change my behavior on this, their listing is कि sir कहना क्या चाहते हो बोल दो ना यार ये इतना घुमा फिरा के क्यों बोलते हो something like that. Because so I think we are not stretching more on the timeline for here. I'll connect you one-to-one, but it's quite interesting, Rajiv. It's amazing.
Thank you, Rakshesh. Thank you. I invite my senior colleague, Juliana.
Rajiv, can I talk last? Please take everyone's,
sure.
and then a few minutes to share how it has impacted my life and how grateful I am for this amazing presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Rajiv, sorry, not to interrupt, but there were a few questions in the chat, so I can
chat as well. Yeah. Okay.
So, Mr. Rajni,
can you read out to me for me? That will help.
Definitely. So, Mr. Rajni Sinha is asking, this NVC OFNR framework is based on the premise that the observer is rational. However, in real life, we live within bounded reality, i.e., our rationality is bounded by constraints of time, information, emotional state, etc. How OFNR system will work for such a person/observer?
Yeah. So, can you read the first statement again? Rationality, right, is the keyword there?
Yes. It's based on the premise that the observer is rational. However, in real life, we live within bounded rationality. That is rationality bounded by constraints of time, etc.
Right. So, good question. And the answer is that because we live in bounded rationality, there will be time when we will be irrational. We are humans. Because we have feelings, because we have needs, we are also irrational. There are times. And so NVC doesn't expect you to be perfect all the time. We cannot be perfect all the time. The invitation is to say if the number of times when we are imperfect, I mean, from the context of observation versus judgment, the number of times that we react, number of times we respond in a judgmental fashion, can those number of times reduce over a period of time? That's all NVCs invite you to practice. So despite of years of practice, we will, as you rightly said, because of being bounded by rationality, we may behave in an angry manner. That's fine. But can we later recover from that reactivity? NVC has this concept of recovering from reactivity. So when we finally are able to connect with the rationality after behaving irrationally, if we can connect back with rationality, the way we would want to then mend things will be different from the way we would do it without NVC. And hope that answers your question. And we can connect more if required.
Thank you, Rajiv. So just one final question from the chat. I think somebody had asked, what are the fees for the course, the
Okay.
Reimagining Family course, if there are?
Right. So Reimagining Family program is a 3-month course. The fees are just rupees 7,000 rupees. In that, it is what is covered is 12 sessions of 2.5 hours, online sessions, plus at least once or twice a month, one-on-one, 1-hour sessions to help people digest and apply the learnings in their own family lives. And plus a lot of practices that will happen online on WhatsApp groups, etc., etc. So that's what we will be covering. So yes, it is 7,000 rupees. Hope that answers the question. I see Gorakh Sharma also raising a hand. Yes, Gorakhji.
Yes. I have been associated with government of Gujarat company, Gujarat Communication Electronics Limited. I was HOD. During my service period, I have observed so many conflicts, but I have not taken strong actions. But I have taken action within the rules and regulations of the company. In that way, I have means being as a government company, nobody can dismiss so way out for the that person from the company. I have means is within being in the rules and regulation. I have asked those 3 persons to go out from the company. As generally there were a lot of conflicts because I was the means HOD of the company. So I have to follow all this your OFNR. Generally, we were not reactive; we were means supportive. That is my observation. Or you have means also told us very good things that we have to observe in our family life as well as industrial life. I have observed all these things in industrial life, but now in family, whatever you observe, that is true. So now I have applied your OFNR so that family relation can be improved. Thanks for giving us nice presentations.
Thank you, Gorakhji. Thank you. Shailesh, I saw your raised hand, but can I just go in order?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
see
of course.
a hand raised from Sashikala and then
Yes,
Neeraj,
yes.
and then
Yes,
can I
sure.
come to you, Shailesh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, in interest of time, we are at 6 o'clock. Maybe a few more minutes. We'll continue. Maybe 3-4 more questions, and I want to definitely end with Juliana, madam, saying something. Yes, Shashikala ji.
Am I audible, Rajiv?
Yes, you are.
So Rajiv, thank you so much for this insightful session. Basically I'm an Orcom major from Western Michigan, and all through, the basic core of communication is a two-way street, and what we say and how it's perceived makes a lot of difference, right? One thing, the tool that you gave us in a very short time is to phrase our communication so that we find out the root cause of the trigger of emotion coming from the other side, right? But,
Yeah.
but what is the end result? I mean, if you want harmony, I mean, we change from outside. I know this is a subset of emotional intelligence, right? If I'm not wrong, it's a part of emotional intelligence practice, being self-aware. But how to take it further? Like, what happens after that? Let's say I phrase this question, we get the background, why the person said so and so. What is the next logical step?
No, so what happens, Sashikala, is that because you are interacting with the other person with an intention to connect and not correct, the dialogue will form.
Okay.
This distinction is very important. What is your intention when you are engaging with a person to converse? Are you intending to correct that person, or are you intending to connect with that person?
Okay.
Right. So OFNR helps us to really connect with people. And the person will see that the other person is really trying to engage in a conversation, because of which the conflict or the difficult situation is likely to lead to a dissolution, a resolution. right? So that's what happens subsequently. And I can give you many examples later.
So a little bit of de-escalation will happen, and then more comfort. Yeah, more comfort in conversing.
More comfort, and then wanting to resolve will open up, because both sides will then try to see each other's feelings and needs. Oh, I said this because I had this need. You reacted in this way because this was my need. Okay, let's address our core needs finally, because that's what humans do.
Excellent. Excellent. Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Welcome. Yes, Neeraj, next one.
Hi, Rajiv. Okay, my question is, sometimes I feel that when you talk nicely, softly to people, they take you for granted and they feel that it's your weakness. So then how do you deal with this kind of situation? When you're trying to be very nice to them, but they take it, in a wrong way, that it's your weakness.
Yeah. So, Neeraj, the answer to that question is...
it's Bela.
Oh, Bela. Okay. Oh, that's Bela. Okay.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, Bela, it's you. Sorry, I didn't realize. Okay. Yeah, Bela. So, see, our conditioned way of being nice is very different from what NVC invites us to say OFNR. OFNR is not necessarily being nice. Okay. Nice can be done in a way by which we are trying to say things without being very clear on what you want to say, sugarcoating, all that is what we believe as niceness. Okay. If we say things in a manner that NVC invites us to say, two things will happen. Other person will really see why you are saying what you are saying. When we are nice, we are either not telling your truth, or you are trying to say things in a manner in which the other person's care is not taken. One of the two we do. Okay, we are either very sweet, by which we hide the other person's so-called wrongdoing, right? Or we are passively aggressive, right? Maybe can you tell me whether you really want to do this job or not, right? That is probably seeing, outwardly it looks like nice, but there is a passive aggression there. All of these are different forms that we need to avoid when we are communicating. So my short answer to your question is, if people feel being heard, they will not take you for granted, because they will feel heard. They would want to address your needs. That's the invitation of nonviolent communication. That's what brings the shift. Okay. And I have lots of examples, Bela, to share with you of how this has happened with me in real life, in my family life, at workplace. Very happy to share with you offline. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bela. And one last question from Shailesh, and then closure from Juliana, ma'am.
Hi, Rajiv. This was really a very enriching experience. I never thought that, these kind of skills can help improve your place at work. At work and your family, and even every time you step out of the house.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, how do you transition, or how do you sharpen your skills? Because you come across and meet so many people in everyday life. Like when you step out of the house, you're going to meet your security guy. Then you're dealing with the driver, and then you go to the office. You're dealing with your employees, and before that, of course, you're dealing with your wife in the morning. So, how do you quickly, sharpen those skills and try and recognize?
Yeah. It doesn't happen quickly.
Yeah.
The hard answer is that it takes time.
Yeah.
Practice. As I said, it has taken me 3 years to reach a stage where with my wife, I don't have a situation that we don't speak for a few days. So it has taken me time, and I think it takes time to everyone, because you are unlearning your 40, 50 years of baggage of being conditioned to behave in a certain way. It takes a lot of time to unlearn that and practice to do it in different way, and not get triggered when someone is not really listening to what you want to say, etc. So it takes a long time, but it's worth it if you keep practicing. Journaling, practicing is the way to reach that reality.
You wouldn't have any bullets points, like quick things. How do you transition between meeting people? Just like a helpful guide, that sort of thing,
So for
besides,
me,
I know what you said about practicing and.
So one quick bullet point, if you want, Shailesh bhai, the answer is journaling. really note down if you had an experience that you wanted to be really speaking with an NVC manner because the other person did not respond nicely, you kind of blasted out. Fine, go back and write down what happened. Try to analyze what could I have done differently. Could I have said my OFNR statement differently? Write that down. Okay. Then again, go back to your life, practice. Again, if something doesn't go well, come back and write down. And once you learn, if you are willing to join that longer program, you will hear far more number of different additional theoretical concepts. You have to know those concepts and practice them. If you start practicing them and do this journaling on a regular basis, then your shifting will happen definitely on a regular basis. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Shailesh. Right. Yes, Juliana, ma'am.
So first, let me just thank you for sharing this wisdom, Rajiv, such wisdom from your life. And it's inspired me and touched me deeply. And I want to thank you for this. Even this last tip about journaling, so true and so true and so wonderful. So I just want to share my story in just few minutes. Okay, short. It has been 8 years since the 9th year going on. I've been on this journey. And earlier, I was more in my head. I could feel all, I was, all muddled up and finding it difficult to express myself. So mostly it would be like, talking opinions one with the other. So, and that would be really like, kind of in a competition with each other. When I came to know about this is really about the needs awareness, something really deep in your heart, in my heart. And I got little clarity about needs. Feelings, I always knew feelings, I could feel them quite well and all. But the needs and how the needs are tied up to our thoughts, our thinking, the way we think creates our feelings, and they're also connected to our needs, and also how our needs can create our feelings. When I got clear on needs, I got so much confidence to express from my heart what was important for me. And I was no longer diffident about talking and sharing my views in forums and things like that. That was one big change that came for me. Secondly, it was more about a consciousness, not a formula really. There's no use of trying. We start as a formula just to learn the different elements in the process. But finally, you just let it flow. I just let it flow from my heart as I did it in the moment. And I was so thrilled when Rajiv, in your examples, and I kind of took the slide, you said, my need for clarity. You just didn't say my need for clarity is not being met. You said my need for clarity about future is not met. So there are how many words? Need for clarity. So clarity about the future. So it becomes even more clear. So don't get, that's the new thing I learned. Don't get stuck on need words. You can use need phrases even. That can make it more easy to talk to people and not get them stuck that I have to do it in this way. Not this whole process is all about choice. This is just a way of thinking, okay? The most powerful thing is the Rajiv said about, everything we do is because we want to meet a need, but that all needs matter. This is the turning point, the key of this. That difference makes it so hard, but so beautiful.
Yes, all needs matter.
Needs matter. And that is where I can connect in my heart. When I get this in my head, that my needs matter, your needs are also important. So just not my needs, but I also want to consider what are your needs. I want to hear about them. And the request, the last thing brings us into that dialogue to talk to each other and understand each other. So they're so beautiful, You said my need for progress. Progress where? In what part of my life? Progress in my studies is not being met. I'm just bringing 2 examples that Rajiv has used today. So don't get stuck on the need words only. There can be need phrases also. That's one thing that delivered me actually. And it's a free choice. And, we're not trying to change anyone. The only person I can change is myself. So that is why this whole methodology is, I don't talk about you, and blame you. And I try to talk about me. When I see you do this, or when I notice this, I feel, and because I need, and so my request is, would you be willing? I am taking ownership here for my part, okay? And there is also the impact of my actions. So I also care about you, the pain that my actions causing you. So I also care about your needs. And therefore, we get into this trying to guess the other person's needs and then checking with them, is that true? So this is so beautiful. And I just want to leave you with, these it's the process of learning, like Rajiv said, constantly learning. I just got these beautiful images that I'm living with now. I versus thou. The thou, the divine presence. The Marshall Rosenberg's definition of needs is beloved divine energy. So I have this beloved divine energy in me, and there is also this beloved divine energy of needs in you. So I versus thou, can I connect with that?
Yeah.
That is the first thing. And just today, I got this beautiful new vision that on the river, the river of life, every person that comes to me is a gift. And just that, I want to leave you with that.
Yeah.
In this moment of time, every
Thank
person
you.
that I come across as a gift.
To us.
Yeah.
Juliana.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Very deep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And the changes in my family, I want to talk about. Just give me this 1 minute, because your whole program's on family. I was so scared, like for harmony, I just wanted harmony, so I just shut my mouth and take a lot. I have 3 kids and a lovely husband, but all of us are human, and we are all different, and so we have to learn to understand. I learned recently that it's not just about giving empathy and giving empathy. I need to balance it with honest expression. And when I do that, and I talk in the eye, for me, this is painful. This is whatever. The other person who loves you gets to know you better and love you better. And you feel that, you learn to be connected to yourself better and to be connected to others. Just want to end with that. And I'm learning still in the process of practicing. You practice to make muscles strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Practice never stops as far as NVC is concerned. Thank you. Thank you for that wisdom. Vaibhavi, over to you for closure. Really thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rajiv. And thank you, Juliana, ma'am, for being so open and your thoughts with the rest of our community that's joined us today. I know we're over time, so I'm just going to make this as quick and as short as possible. Firstly, thank you, everybody, for taking the time out to join us and for also staying until the very end. You would have received an email with the details about the session. We'd also request you to please share your feedback about how the session went. If you have any ideas for other kinds of topics, things like that, you can just reply to that email and we'll be in touch with you. So thank you. And a very warm thank you to Rajiv for coming on and talking about this topic that even
Vaibhavi, I wanted to know, when is the next course going to be held and what is the cost?
I think Mr. Rajiv answered it in the chat, but sir, if you don't mind sharing again.
Yeah, so the next batch of Reimagining Family is starting on next Sunday, 14th September. And the course fees is rupees 7,000 for a 3-month course. It will be a weekly, once a week, 2.5-hour session on every Sunday.
Okay.
It will be all on Zoom. So anyone from anywhere in the country, anyone in the world, if the timeline is convenient, can join us. And the mail that has been sent out by Vaibhavi has details of the program for you to know more, as well as a link to register. So the mail, you can get the details, but otherwise the mail.
Thank you very much.
My phone number, if you want to reach out to ask questions, feel free to do that. And happy to get back to you with any questions to be answered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuji. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Yes, thank you. But thank you very much for coming on and
Thank
conducting
you.
the session for our audience. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for joining.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
very
Thank
nice
you,
day.
Rajiv. Thank you so much.
Thank
Beautiful work you're doing in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You too, Juliana, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for this opportunity to be with you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.